Chris Jericho confirms that Cody Rhodes has indeed signed with WWE, a big, significant name not advertised for the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view in June. We have an update when it comes to the NXT viewership on the rise, and Gable Steveson gives an update on his WWE future. All this and more in today's WWE news. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestle News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of WWE. Well, I say that. There isn't a ton, realistically. But we've got some really significant stuff to talk about still. We're going to start off talking about Cody Rhodes. Oh, we've got to talk about Cody Rhodes. But this is quite interesting because it kind of gives the AEW perspective on what's happening with Cody Rhodes right now. His impending return to WWE. The story's out there. He's signed on the dotted line a WWE contract. He's going to be returning WrestleMania weekend, WrestleMania Sunday most likely, to face off against Seth Rollins. But Chris Jericho has given his 2 cents and has seemingly confirmed that Rhodes is headed to WWE and has signed a WWE contract. On his Talk is Jericho podcast earlier this week, Chris Jericho confirmed that Cody Rhodes is bound for the WWE. Now, he said, he spoke to Mike Dawkins as a guest on the show. He's the gimmick attorney. He's the guy that basically gets a lot of people their trademarks through, whether they're from AEW, Impact, wherever. Most of the time when they leave WWE and they want to trademark their name or trademark some aspect of their character, they go to Mike Dawkins. He's very good at what he does. And he's doing a great job, I think, for all of the wrestlers as well. They spoke in length about wrestlers' trademark battles with WWE. While describing what Dawkins does, Jericho confirmed that Rhodes will be returning to WWE television soon. He said, quote, "I'm pulling back the curtain a little bit on the wrestling business," Jericho said. "You're going to discover how I've been able to be Chris Jericho no matter what company I work for or where I wrestle. You'll hear how Danhausen gets to keep his name and gimmick from promotion to promotion, how Cody got to reclaim Rhodes from WWE, even though he's back with WWE, ... So Jericho just kind of throwing that one out there, knowing what we already know, saying that Rhodes has signed with WWE. Now, Cody Rhodes is rumored to wrestle Seth Rollins at the upcoming WrestleMania 38 Premium Live event. He is expected to be part of the Raw brand, according to PW Insider. As per several other reports, Rhodes will also appear on the Raw After Mania on Monday, April 4. This week's Raw, of course, ended with a seething Seth Rollins threatening to hijack next week's show unless he gets to be on the WrestleMania 38 card. The fans in attendance at the Allstate Arena chanted Cody in response as Rollins continued to wreak havoc at ringside. Rollins could potentially show up at the Mania Go Home episode of Raw this coming Monday in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but that wouldn't make a ton of sense, really. That wouldn't make a lot of sense. After you've gone this far, why would you bother just to blow it at the last seconds? It is WWE. But I don't think they'll go in that direction. I think they're holding out until WrestleMania, and I think they're right to as well. When it comes to the Cody thing, I feel like everything that needs to be said has already really been said about Cody Rhodes coming back to WWE. I think the shock hasn't worn off in the sense that it still is when you really take a step back, and it's because we've been living in this reality for a couple of weeks now, but when you really take a step back and say Cody Rhodes is no longer with AEW, that's shocking. If you'd have told someone a year ago that Cody Rhodes would no longer be with AEW a year later and he'd be returning to WWE at WrestleMania, people would have said, you're crazy. He's an AEW EVP, he helped found the company, all that kind of stuff. So it is incredibly wild. I think a lot of people, myself included, still can't really wrap their head around what that moment is going to look like, him returning at WrestleMania. How much of AEW does WWE acknowledge? Do they just say, oh, it's Cody Rhodes is back? Or are they very open and say, look, it's Cody Rhodes, he's an EVP of another company, or he helped build our competition? I don't know. I really don't know, because this is really the first of its kind. That no real significant AEW star has gone to WWE. And there will be plenty. Throughout AEW's existence, there will be plenty that decide to do that when their contract's up, or they have a falling out with Tony Khan, or they decide enough's enough and they go to WWE. It will happen. Cody Rhodes being the first is very staggering and very shocking, but it's going to be, just from a history standpoint, it's going to be fascinating to see how WWE, how they handle it. Is Cody Rhodes going to get the WCW treatment? And a lot of WCW wrestlers, when they came over to WWE, didn't fare out that well, because WWE, Vince McMahon, as far as he says he doesn't, they do hold grudges. So all of that's completely fascinating. And Jericho just saying on his podcast is what we already know, realistically. I think as we're just over a week away from WrestleMania now. It's still kind of trying to sink in that this is going to happen. I'm really interested to see what they're going to do on Raw this coming Monday when it comes to the Rollins storyline, because, and I've said before, like, the Rollins storyline for me is kind of ludicrous. I'm not going to have a spot on WrestleMania. You're Seth Rollins. Of course you are. But of a lot of things when it comes to this WrestleMania, I think a lot of people aren't too excited about, or it doesn't really, fill you with optimism of, I'm really excited to see that. But the Cody Rhodes thing, look, I'm included in this. I'm excited to see what they do. I'm fascinated to see what they are going to do. So we'll see. And it's a great standard bearer, because if Cody Rhodes comes into WWE, and this could happen, by the way, and after WrestleMania, he's the WWE champion on Raw. We know they're going to split the belts. If he's the WWE champion on Raw, there will be people in AEW that will look at that and say, okay, maybe I can go over there and maybe I can have success. Because it's all perception, it's all momentum. AEW had a ton of momentum last year when it came to people leaving WWE. WWE isn't the place to be, and creatively you're stifled, and it's writers and it's producers, it's bureaucracy, and this isn't the right place, and all that kind of stuff. And that is true. And it had a momentum. A lot of people, not just were getting fired, but also people were letting their contracts expire and going to AEW as well. Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, probably Johnny Gargano as well. Those people were offered contracts by WWE and they turned it down. And now we're at a stage where AEW contracts are coming up. And look, if Cody Rhodes thrives in WWE, people within AEW will be saying, actually, maybe I can work over there. Maybe that will work out for me. So it's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. I want to talk about Brock Lesnar a little bit here, because this is quite interesting too. I suppose it's interesting, but not totally surprising. New promotional material has been revealed for the 2022 WWE Hell in a Cell Premium Live event, and it's interesting to note that WWE Champion Brock Lesnar is not advertised. Now, the pre-sale for the Hell in a Cell event is now going on by Ticketmaster with the HIAC passcode. If you're in, I think it's in Chicago, right? Is it in Chicago? You can go to that, use that passcode. That's for free. The graphic for Hell in a Cell includes Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, Edge, Ronda Rousey, Bianca Belair, and Universal Champion Roman Reigns. Now, as noted previously, Lesnar is being advertised for the 2022 Money in the Bank event, which will take place on Saturday, July 2nd from Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. So, of course, he's going to be in that one because it's a stadium show. You don't have a stadium show without Brock Lesnar, but this one, Hell in a Cell, is in June, and Money in the Bank is in July. It's always possible, of course, that Lesnar is added to the Hell in a Cell event, as we're several months away. But it's interesting that he's not advertised on the new promotional material released this week. Of course, Lesnar and Reigns are scheduled to headline Night 2 of WrestleMania 38 in a winner-takes-all unification match. So it's quite curious because we've seen the promotional material for WrestleMania Backlash, which he is advertised in, so that's going to be in May. Lesnar's not going to be at Hell in a Cell in June, but he is going to be there in July. I don't see it as a huge, staggering bit of news, to be honest. It's not a stadium show. And let's be honest, Brock Lesnar has appeared at far more events than I even thought he would. Realistically, at this point, I really didn't think he'd be appearing at this many shows. I think Brock Lesnar's actually appeared at far more shows than we even thought he probably would. So the fact that he's not going to appear at Hell in a Cell, it's not that shocking, let's be honest. The ratings are in for this week's episode of NXT on the USA Network. Tuesday's live edition of NXT 2.0 drew 628,000 viewers on the USA Network, according to Nielsen via Showbuzz Daily. This is actually up just under 1% from last week's 624,000 for the post-Roadblock episode. It drew a 0.14 rating in the key 18 to 49 demographic. NXT ranked 29 in the Cable Top 150 this week, which is up significantly from last week's 44 ranking. NXT ranked 70th in viewership on cable this week, which is up from last week's 74 viewership ranking too. This week's NXT viewership was down 7.73% from the episode that aired 1 year ago, while the 18 to 49 key demo was even from the show that aired 1 year ago. Of course, that went head-to-head with AEW Dynamite. To be honest, I think they'll be happy. Again, these numbers, we heard it before through Andrew Zarian of the Mat Men podcast, that they're happy. If you're going to get mid 600s, possibly high 700s for special events, they'll take it, USA Network. I mean, it's essentially the same as what they were doing for the old NXT, and that had probably more star power on that show. They've got less familiar faces. Yes, some Raw faces on there, that's fair. But they'll probably take it. They'll probably take it, and going into Stand and Deliver, I think they'll be fine with it. I really do. Finally, we have an update when it comes to Gable Steveson. Gable Steveson has given a big update on his WWE future. He recently spoke to the MMA Hour after retiring from amateur wrestling. He's now fully focused on his WWE career and is getting a lot of information from a lot of people. He said he's getting advice from Paul Heyman while also having a good rapport with Triple H. He said all the time, when speaking about Paul Heyman, I'm in contact with all of them. Triple H reached out and he sends a lot of love for me. I think Triple H is really high on me, and him and me have a good connection. He's a good dude. Nick Khan, he's another executive in WWE. He's a really good dude too. He reached out. They all showed a lot of love, and I think that's really, really cool. Now, when it comes to his start date, even though Gable Steveson kind of leaked it a little bit when he did his tweet, which he deleted. It's been rumored he's going to be at WrestleMania. He said, quote, I'll start the day WrestleMania hits or after that. I mean, I don't know. Like my exact start date is in the middle of April, so they're letting me finish school. They're letting me do my thing. And then Monday Night Raw will either come really soon or shortly after that. But I'm planning on getting on TV and getting in the ring on TV really, really soon. Probably the next after WrestleMania. So there you go. Gable Stevenson's, they're probably going to have another conversation going, Gable, stop spoiling it. Stop spoiling it, because basically it seems very apparent what's going to happen is he's going to make his debut at WrestleMania, and he's probably going to start working TVs near enough right after or a couple of weeks after WrestleMania. And I would assume he'll probably have his first match probably at WrestleMania Backlash, or it depends how long they want to stretch that out. Can they stretch that out until, say, Money in the Bank in July, or can they stretch it out until SummerSlam? Who knows what they'll do, but it looks like Gable Steveson is going to be on WWE television very, very, very soon. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts on today's WWE news stories in the comment section below. Be sure to like and subscribe to Wrestle News 365, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.